Good day. Good day. Very, very sad day. Very, very sad day. Sad evening. Sad yesterday. Sad everything. And America is very sad. And this is where I want to take what I've said about this from, I don't know, the last time we had a day of sadness like this. And just repeat everything I've said. Because everything I said then applies now. Everything I said then applies now. I say the same thing over and over again. And I retreat as much as possible from the news because it is so horrible. And not so much the news, but the coverage and what people are saying. And since I have first been, I guess, in the biz, so to speak, whatever this biz is, since 1988, I have said the same thing that I'm saying now regarding correlation and cause and the media and how to react and how we handle problems like this. And I just did a number of private pieces on my private channel, LionelMedia.com. And I go into bigger detail. And I invite you to join that. But one of the things which I explain is the notion of correlation and cause. Now let's take, for example, something. Let's take crime. Now, if I brought you in and said, how do you address crime? You would say, well, what do you mean address? What do you mean by that? What would you like to do? Well, how would you prevent crime? Prevent it? How do you prevent crime? Yeah, how do you prevent it? Can you prevent it? It's a very good question. How do you address crime? How can we minimize it? How do we not encourage it? But more importantly, we have to ask ourselves, why do people do things? Why? First question. Normally, whenever you hear the media ask for motivation, why? We want to know why. It's when it's a crime that it's inexplicable. Robbery, drug sales, yeah, that's obvious, that's pretty much, the usual stuff. But we kind of know why people are involved in robbery, and yeah, we kind of sort of get it. You know what I mean? It makes sense. Yeah. Let's take burglary, for example. Why do people burglarize? Well, believe it or not, most burglary is for theft, even though to burglarize, you don't need to commit theft. To enter or remain in a structure, conveyance, or dwelling to commit an offense therein, you don't have to intend to commit theft. But for the most part, it's theft. That's what most people think. They always get robbery confused. They always say they robbed a house. No, you rob a person, you burglarize or burgle a house. But why did they do it? Well, for the money. For the money. For that which is stolen. And by the way, burglary is the most underrepresented crime there is. And it is the most horrible. Well, I should strike that. One of the most horrible. One of the most underrepresented and misunderstood crimes, because people, it sounds kind of structural, but it if anybody watching has ever been burglarized, it robs you of your sense of security and that sort of thing. But we know that we're not going to be able to stop necessarily people from doing it. So what do? Well, we try to make burglary even more difficult. If I can protect people's homes and personal belongings from being affected or stolen, I've in effect taken away the problem of burglary. Makes sense, doesn't it? I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay. How do you stop the tragedies that we're seeing right now, how do you deal with people who are involved in these school tragedies? How do you deal with that? Well, one thing that I've been saying since the beginning of time, one thing which is so critical, is to make it impossible. And you have to have at every school an armed guard, an armed presence, not a police officer, not school resource officers, not an SRO. You understand this? But somebody who is standing in front and poses an immediate threat. Dogs do this. Dogs are so effective, but that's a different story. There's about 270, I guess, 1,000 schools. Who knows? Maybe more. I'm not sure if that was middle and whatever schools. But there are retired military, retired police, active duty, private concerns, and I mean really good security. There are people who are involved in, quote, the world of security. There's a bank I frequent, and there is a young lady, and she must weigh, I don't know, 100 pounds, and she has a jacket on. This is security, and it doesn't even fit because she's so slight of build. And whenever I had to ask the teller, and I very rarely go into banks anymore, and that's you'll notice the same thing. But I said, what is this person supposedly trying to do? Oh, she's so nice. I said, well, that's not the point. Excuse me. I said, what is the reason for this? I said, this is a joke. But this bank hired this person to stand there, say, hi, good morning. No. I don't know what the purpose of this is. There are people who are there who can be instrumental in stopping these horrible events from occurring. It's that simple. It's that simple. And the next thing that needs to be done, which nobody will talk about or address, is that you cannot lionize or elevate these people to hero-like status by putting them in the position of, and this is important, of maybe hitting that Columbine status where you find out who they are. This is their social media. This is what they did. This is where they're from. This is the... No more. Can't do that. You simply cannot do that. We have to, as a society, all of us, agree, not by the government, not by virtue of the government, but everybody, social media, conventional heritage, legacy media, whatever you want to call it, but we have to be in the position where we are not going to mention these people's names ever again. Ever. I don't want to know where they're from, what they look like, their gender or political status or strategy, their health, their manifestos, their writings, their likes, their dislikes, what neighbors think. I don't want any of that. I'm not interested. It makes no difference to me. I want to focus on the people themselves who are injured. I have no. It's the amount of coverage. I got to tell you this. First, I hope, and I ask for the knee-jerk, usual suspect conspiracist to just wait before you start with the usual. Well, that didn't happen. That I don't know where this came from, and I don't understand why people think this is, it's almost knee-jerk. It's almost like a religion in some respects. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, but baseless. Somebody sitting at their home in Arlington or in, Jacksonville, who haven't gotten out of their house. All of us are saying, I don't think this occurred. This is a false, whatever. Please don't. Please. Not now. The other thing which is important is, I don't know where there is you have this group of people. First, I'm not going to mention names, but one in particular is, I guess, the heir apparent or part of the new iteration version of the conservative group. And the only focus of this person is to double down on the gender status of this particular individual that I don't want to mention. That's it. Because when it comes to news, if you control, all the better. Another one too, another genius. Well, I don't know if I should call her he or she. I mean, if it's a she, this is your focus now. Pronouns. And also they're saying, well, we have to notice that. Now listen, follow me on this. They will say, don't bring up the type of particular weapon that was allegedly used, because that has nothing to do with the ultimate crime, because that's merely an instrumentation, and there's some merit in that. However, they'll turn around and say, well, because this person is transitioning or what have you, therefore, say, wait a minute, are you suggesting that had anything to do with the offense? What? Because both sides, well, as though there are two sides, but let's just call it, both sides love causation figures. Well, it's because of the weapon. No, it's because of your lifestyle. No, it's because of your faith. No, it's because of, and they're going back and forth. Then another person who wants to be the next iteration of streaming star of the, I guess you would say, the left, is focusing on the fact that this was a Christian school. And I don't even understand this. Then you have the usual cacophony of folks from the entertainment world who move in and they say the opposite. They say the obvious. This is where I back off. And I say, this is the same argument I've been saying forever. Two things we need to do, more important. Actually, number one, all school doors have to be locked, which apparently this was, which is very good. Number two, metal detectors, which doesn't really apply in this particular case, but you should have them at schools. That's number two. Number three, a guard who is always present. A guard in the front, conspicuously situated, not in the back, not somebody who drives by every now and then, but somebody who's there. And it's a price and a fee I think parents would cobble together their monies and put together so that you have somebody who is not only able to respond immediately, but who is a tremendous deterrent. And there are people, like I said, who would be willing, able, who would love to do this. There are folks who, I can see them now, some would say, I'll do it, and they have to have some kind of proficiency training or whatever it is. I can see somebody with some big guy with a beard and the glasses and the camis and the secure. Oh, he'd love that, with his own stuff just sitting out there waiting, Good. Look ominous, look scary, because somebody's going to be saying, okay, I'm going to pick my, and most of these demented individuals who do this anticipate they're not going to make it out. So it's the deterrent part. But they might say, you know what, this might not be the best place. Let me go someplace else. Because if they are confronted with a recognized threat or opposition immediately, they may not even bother because of what they see. All right. And next, of course, never mention their name, never publish manifestos, never publish pictures, life, who were they, what do they know, what do we know about them, what did they think. And also, let me ask the following question. And this is very, very, very important. I want to ask you, there are people who have noticed and have said that they noticed that this individual online may have said some things that either predicted or promised this particular event. Do you believe, this is my question to you, do you believe that social media platforms are responsible, or let me rephrase this, should there be a criminally based responsibility to inform against any individual who threatens criminal harm or violence? Do you think there should be a law that makes somebody, if you have been, let's say you're talking, and we go back in line and say, you were talking to this person online or in some particular chat format, and they were telling you they were planning these terrible belief systems. Do you think there should be some type of, it's called misprison? Should they be held criminally liable for not reporting somebody who was apparently threatening harm? If that ever happens, do you think so? Do you think the platforms themselves should have some kind of algorithm, some type of do you think there should be some type of liability, if you will, for social media channels not having a means of an algorithm or something that could look for particular words or threats or whatever? Do you think so? Yes or no? Yes or no? Number 1 for yes, number 2 for no. Should there be liability? You were talking to him, yes. Is that you? Yes, that was me. Well, why didn't you call the police? You're under arrest. You didn't call the police. You didn't do anything. You didn't respond. You knew this. Do you think so? What about the groups? What about the groups of people? What about whether it's whatever the platform is? I mean, they're very good at having artificial AI functions for mentioning certain subject matter. What do you think? Criminal liability for not turning someone in. Think about that. You get a knock at the door, yes. Are you Haymaker 1776? Yeah, you're under arrest. Is that you? Yes, that's me. You were talking to this person. Why didn't you call the police? Why didn't you do something? Why didn't you do that? The answer simply is no. No. Misprision should not apply to citizens. And I think social media, we're going to destroy what's left of it. We're going to destroy it by virtue of everybody trying to make it. We're trying to ban it. We're trying to stop it. We're trying to shut it down when somebody does not like what we don't like. Do not let freedom of speech, do not let the freedom of expression get lost in this world. And misprision, misprision, is a very difficult thing to prove because somebody might have thought, well, I'm not going to call the cops because I'm worried about civil liability. I don't want to be accused of malicious prosecution. Who knows? So, my friends, these are very, very serious times. I ask that you go to lionelmedia.com, subscribe to my private channel where I go into much greater detail of this. We have a bit of a truncated show today. We have some business to do, business to attend to. That's why we started earlier, and I thank you for being with us. Please understand our sponsors are important, and we ask that you check the descriptions. Our good friends at MyPillow, preparewithlionel.com, Z-Stack, and of course, EMP Shield. We thank you for that. If you pray, if you believe in prayer, direct the prayer to the families and the spirit and the memory of these innocent people. I believe there is something to prayer, but not necessarily as prayer. Something else. Something else. There is a weird cosmic I don't know what you want to call it. But in any event, I thank you. I thank you. Protect your children. Keep an eye on them. And let's hope this is the last time that we ever have to talk about this. But I'm afraid we're going to be talking about it again because we just don't seem to learn our lessons. All right, dear friends, have a great and a glorious day. See you tomorrow, same bat time, different, 9 o'clock, usual time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, remember. Wait a minute. Until then, remember. How do we do this? I hit the wrong button. Let me try it again. The Monkey said the show's over. So tomorrow, same bad time, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Until then, I think I said that before. I hit the wrong button. I'm confused. See you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Ta-ta.